All right, good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here on this beautiful, bright, and sunny day. Well, maybe after they adjust a few sliders in the control room. So, I'm John Field. I manage the Build Tools team at Google, which includes not only Bazel, but also its Google counterpart Blaze and other build-related tools.
Servus, my name is Sven Tiffer. I'm managing the Bazel team, and I'm super excited to have everyone here in New York after 2 years of a virtual BazelCon, having an in-person event again, seeing so many great people and being able to associate faces with usernames on GitHub. This is so awesome. Thank you for being here.
Hi everyone, I'm Radhika. I'm the product manager at Bazel. I've spoken to some of you, but I'd love to meet all of you in person, so definitely reach out to me. So I'm lucky enough to start the State of the Union talk today, and our talk will talk about the past, the present, and the future. But before I go really into the wins of 2022, I want to step back and talk about BazelCon 2021, where some of you were there virtually. In BazelCon 2021, we spoke about a feature called BZL Mod. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. It's our capability to make it easier to manage and resolve transitive dependencies. We launched that in experimental mode earlier this year with Bazel 5.0. And as we speak, there is the engineering team busy packaging up BZL Mod with Bazel 6.0 with your requested features. As you can see, this feature is pretty cool. It's already adding a lot of value, right?
So another topic which was very important for a lot of people in the community and our user base was IDE support, in particular IntelliJ support. This came up even 2 years ago. It kept us very busy in 2021, where we tried to improve the health of the project, particularly by providing more timely updates for supporting new versions of IntelliJ. And we continued doing so, but then eventually also earlier this year, we learned that our support and operating model was not super efficient. We didn't make the progress that we intended to and that many of you hoped for. So we revamped the project and we reached out to JetBrains if they're interested in joining us, working on PR intake process and evaluate, continuing to drive the IntelliJ support for Bazel forward. And luckily, they accepted to join as co-maintainers, which got announced earlier this year. Over 2022, we added more co-maintainers, 9 individuals from very well-known companies like Wix and Apple to the project. And together, we have the shared effort of working with you on accepting user, community contributions, working on reported issues in a timely manner, supporting new versions of IntelliJ as well in a very timely manner. So as of today, as an impact, we not only tried to improve the health of the community project, but for example, we continue to provide timely updates. We support the beta version of IntelliJ 22.3 with Bazel. So although the IDE is not officially released yet, you can already try it out and use it with Bazel. We added community-driven support for Scala, for example, and we plan to do this also in the IntelliJ SIG over the next year, creating really great IntelliJ support for Bazel. Big shout-outs, big thank you to JetBrains and all the co-maintainers on this project.
All right, let's talk about Starlark. As most of you know, Starlark is Bazel's extension language, which allows users to define build rules for programming languages and platforms. And as some of you know, Bazel still has code baked in from its early days, which supports certain programming languages natively. And we know this native rule code is at best conceptually confusing, and at worst a barrier to writing new rules. Especially rules that need to interoperate with other rules. So for that reason, the team has made it a big priority over the past year or so to migrate these vestigial native rules to Starlark. And our priority for the next year is to largely complete that work. And to do that, we're focusing on the major rule sets for C++, Java, Protobuf, and Android. And in fact, this work is nearly complete for what we call the outer layer of rules. That is the bits of the rules that users interact with directly. And the idea is the remaining native code is going to be encapsulated in a way that eases interoperability with other rules. So I think we've made quite a bit of progress to date and expect to see a lot more in the coming year. So speaking of Android, Radhika has a bit more to say about that.
To all my Android friends out here, who all I have troubled a number of times, I want to let you know that a big focus for us has been Android app development. We are trying immensely hard to make it easier for you to use Bazel to build your Android apps. We've addressed some of your pain points in our latest release, which is we made D8 the default DeXA and upgraded it to its most latest version. We've also taken your community contributions such as multiplex workers for D8 and desugaring of D8. At the same time, a team is dedicated to improving and furthering the rules Android ecosystem. We're doing this through Starlarkification, open sourcing, and tooling upgrades. We also have brought together a special interest group dedicated to talk about Android app development. This SIG meets monthly, and you all are welcome to join. Just to give you an idea of what we spoke about, in our last SIG, we spoke about the interoperability between Rules Android and Rules Kotlin. The SIG also highlighted that the current GitHub repository did not allow them to make contributions. So our team focused on making that happen. We are restructuring our GitHub repo so you can contribute. We do have a Birds of Feather session today where we'll talk a lot about these initiatives. This will be led by Ted and Alex from Google and Ben from Lyft. So do attend and let me know if you want to be a part of this SIG. I will add you.
Another area where we're working on for a long time and we will continue to work on is documentation. Your user feedback indicates that there has been a lot of improvement potential and there is still some work to come. We improved our documentation infrastructure, so we relaunched, as many of you probably noticed, our website, bazel.build. We have a new infrastructure, a new ecosystem. This allowed us to do a couple of changes. It's not just the shade of green which changed, but we also reworked the discoverability, the navigation structure, the way how we try to offer information to new users of Bazel, users and customers who are considering evaluating Bazel, but also to power users. And we know that there's still a lot of work that needs to happen. Adding examples, adding tutorials. This is also something where we want to look at community members to provide good documentation, good examples where possible. Another thing which is really important for us is that Bazel is a global open source project. And there are a lot of engineers out there in the world whose primary language is not English. Like it's not my native language, but I'm fine with it, kind of. And but there are actually engineers worldwide who even prefer to read documentation and work with the system in their own language. And so the new infrastructure provides translation capabilities, which are mostly automated translations. And we turned this on mostly for the languages as of today, where we know also from other Google properties that users do not opt out and fall back to English. We observed this for a couple of languages where most of the users fell back to English. We also observed that we had some funky translation issues into German, for example. We tried to improve that. And so with all that being said, for those of you who prefer a different language, check out the translated pages and let us know if you find anything which sounds a little bit weird to you, because then this also helps us to improve the translation model. And please continue to help us improving the context, the content, adding tutorials, adding snippets. This is highly appreciated because your input helps us to improve the project.
All right. I talked about Starlark and Starlarkification earlier, but that's only part of Bazel's extensibility story. So what we call our extensibility features are designed to give Bazel users and contributors in the community, that's you, the power to make Bazel work best for you without needing to submit PRs and without my team being a blocker for what you're doing. So we're focusing on extensibility in various respects, and I'll say a bit more in a second.
And if somebody could bring back the notes on the auto screens, that would be so awesome. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So a couple areas we're focusing on other than Starlark is BZL mod and BCR. You heard a bit about that from Jeff. These are features designed to better totally reform the way we handle dependencies. We're also rolling out right now BCR, the Bazel Central Registry. The idea is to make it easier for the community to publish and discover BZL mod modules. And We believe this could enable a sort of a new level of interoperability beyond that which we've done before. For Android, Radhika talked about that earlier, but I want to let you know we're working across Google now, not just our team, to make sure that our Android support is kept in sync with the latest Android platform releases. We're focusing on a great command line experience primarily. And so we're doing this in conjunction with Starlarkifying the rules, including Android. And that means things like supporting a full array of Android tools like SDKs, NDKs, and so on. So you'll see a lot of focus on Android next year. And finally, we're working on mechanisms to allow users to ensure the integrity of the code we've built. Again, Jeff touched on that. This includes things like better licensing support, license management support. That's important to make sure you're compliant, and also generation of this new generation of metadata called software bills of materials that's increasingly becoming important in the US and other countries. So extensibility is all about empowering the Bazel community. So let's talk a bit more about some notable community members.
And this is about celebrating you, folks, who are part of our effort. And without you, this effort wouldn't move forward in the way it does. We have a whole bunch of an amazing group of contributors across all kind of repositories in our Bazel Build organization, in other organizations like what the Rule6 spun up, for example, Bazel-Contrib. And so we would like to thank you for coming forward, for stepping up, for helping us moving the project forward. And while everyone is awesome, we wanted to give a special shout out to a few individuals who collaborated with us, in particular over the past year. So let's start with Fabian Meumertsheim. Hold on. So some names to come. We will have lunch later. So save your applause for the end, please. So Fabian Meumertsheim worked intensively with us on Bazel mod design, on the implementation, has been a very, very strong contributor over the past year. We'd like to give shout outs to Keith Smiley for his work on Rules Apple, and together with Ben Lee on both technical and organizational contribution on rules and on the Android SIG, which we mentioned before. We'd like to give shout outs to Yannick Bohnenberger for his work on remote execution, and also, for example, for reporting a security issue. So this is very valuable for us as well, which we will then be able to fix and also backport to old LTS releases like Bazel 4. We'd like to say thank you to Simon Stewart for his work on BZLmod and on Rules GVM external. And related to that, Maximilian Geusser for providing a web front end for the Bazel Central Registry. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the entire community for contributing. And I think this is now worth a huge round of applause. And as we're an open source project, we would like to foster more community engagement. We tried our best in the past 1 or 2 years we had discussions with you. It was not always easy, I guess, for you folks to contribute. And thank you for your patience and thank you for your motivation. And we will try, we're committed to do our best for 2023 to further unblock community contributions.
How many of you are on our Slack community channel? Raise your hand. Yay! There's so many of you. So while we thank all our amazing contributors, there's this amazing Slack community which is 4,500 people strong. And if you just look at the messages that are back and forth, and I look at them every day, it's amazing how you guys have been helping each other, especially with those pestering, toolchain, C++ issues, or other crazy configuration and setup issues. It's just amazing. So I want to give a big shout out to all of you for being there and helping each other out. Also, I want to give a big thanks to Slack for giving us that account. We didn't have one, and now we have one, and you can all engage with each other pretty easily. Also, over 2022, our community has grown a lot. We have over 10 plus open source repositories. We have 2 Google-owned SIGs and 1 community-owned rule author SIG. We have 2 community-owned IDE plugins. So it's all you guys who are making the difference. And we have 5 plus tools spread across Google and community-owned. So there are multiple forums for everyone to kind of work together and make Bazel a better product. So thank you so much.
So let's talk a bit more about our plans for community success. Sven? Right. So We talked about technical extensibility. I also want to talk about non-technical things we're planning on doing. So first, we want to work with you to clarify issues of ownership and governance around the various rule sets that are currently hosted in Bazel Build. For example, specifying the roles, who is in charge, who is not, responsibilities, and maintenance status for each rule set. So right now it's not obvious or immediately obvious when you visit bazel.build which rule sets are actively maintained, which aren't. We want to fix that. Second, we'll be continuing to refine and improve our processes for managing PRs, issues, and releases. I hope many of you have noticed that we now have a dedicated team helping us to make sure that PRs and issues are triaged in a timely way. And while our statistics show that we've made a lot of progress, we want to do better, especially on PR acceptance. Third, we want to do better on documentation. People have praised us for our reference documentation. I think the answer to every question is buried somewhere in the documentation site, but it's often hard to find. It's hard to put the pieces together. We know that. So we want to work together with the community on better tutorials, better examples, better how to get started kinds of pages. So the barrier to entry to Bazel is a lot lower. So you're going to see a lot of emphasis, in addition to the technical work, on some non-technical work in the coming year.
Just adding to what John was saying, and even what Jeff mentioned, this is shared ownership, and together we make the platform way better. It's really hard to contribute to Bazel at times, and you just don't know where to start. So especially for all the newbies out there who are looking to contribute, these are 3 key focus areas where we welcome contributions. Many of you have already contributed here, so I'm sure there's a lot of avenues to take help and reach out to each other to Slack. So we've made an effort to identify areas where we really would love your contribution so you can take Bazel forward.
In order to do so, we need to share what we're planning, and we need to get your input. We've reworked and published a roadmap, which is available on bazel.build. I think it's a /about/roadmap. And it replaced the old roadmaps, which we used to have, which were a little bit more detailed on the one side, but on the other side also often outdated and overly detailed. So what we're committed to is providing you the high-level overview of what we're planning in the next quarters or years for Bazel, and to keep it up to date, because our roadmap should inform yours and your plans should inform ours. We need your insight and your feedback so that we can make good decisions. A lot of your input, BZLmod being one of the very popular examples, have been based on your needs and requests. And for this, we need we'd like you to engage with us, to talk to us. There are various channels, like Jason mentioned a general survey at this BazelCon to get a t-shirt. We don't need to fill it out, so I get a t-shirt without it. It's that t-shirt, right? That's one way to give us feedback on BazelCon, but we're also running product and engineering surveys. We had a dev set surveys, a yearly one, which will start at the beginning of next year. So please participate to it, give us feedback, tell us what needs to be improved, and it will be also great if you tell us what's already great, because that's sometimes just good for morale. We're on Slack. We have SIG meetings, which where Google Bazel team members participate to. These are very valuable ways of learning about your needs. We will have office hours today. Also, Jason, that you announced that no promises. No promises of being able to deliver all the ideas that you tell us today. As long as Jason doesn't volunteer to implement everything, we can talk about that later.
I'll get there again. I'll bring you under the bus next time.
For those on stream, I think the answer was something probably no. So if you want to talk to us, please just grab us. We will hang around during these 2 days here. We will host product and roadmap office hours with dedicated times, but you will also find us on the various channels that we're offering.
So your success is really important to us, both community and developers. We want to make sure that developers that start with the Bazel download can actually complete their migration and adoption journey. So I request you to continue to lean in like you have already with training material, content, tutorials, and hey, point out documentation when it's really not updated. It really helps us and we can fix it. So thank you so much for all of it. But we also want to talk about our community and our community experts. We have a huge team of community experts that have been championing the voice of the community. They have been helping us in numerous ways in the form of initiatives, contributing to code, and simply reaching out and solving your problems on Slack. So going forward into Q1 2023, we're going to expand our partnership program to include both training partners and product partners. So if you are interested, look out for communications that's going to come out early next year and just apply. Because it is our partnership program that really has the maximum outreach and makes Bazel really successful for each and every developer out there.
Last but not least, I wanted to give a shout out to the amazing team of Googlers who formed the Bazel team on the Bazel build org on GitHub. Not only folks who report to me, but also a bunch of other Googlers in Google who've come together to contribute so much to the code base. So please, many of them are here today. If you see them in the hallways, if you can recognize them from their avatars, extra points, say hello. Because they love working on the project and they love working with you. So thanks to the team for contributing so much to Bazel.
Okay. There's one more before we end. We have Luca and Patrick from Spotify. I know they're somewhere in the audience. I can't really see them. They've got an amazing customer success story that they shared with me after a lot of trouble. So I would love to play it so all of you can see how they've made their journey through with us.
We adopted Bazel with the goal to accelerate our development speed. Spotify tries to be available everywhere users might need to play audio. So naturally, we were looking for a single tool that would allow us to build our code bases efficiently and independently from which language or platform we are targeting.
Bazel helped unify our development processes and improve the developer experience. Our engineers now need to interact with just one build system independently from which part of the code base they're contributing to. We've seen improvements in build time of up to 2x by using the remote cache and 5x more with remote execution enabled.
So with that, thank you for being in New York. Thank you for being on the stream and joining us virtually. Thank you for joining our Bazel Rides, and enjoy the next 2 days. Network, talk to us. We appreciate that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.